We have a super upbeat, because you guys know me, I am the positive PMA. We're gonna suck BDO's donkey-sized penis. This is the PMA stream of a lifetime. We're gonna talk about the state of BDO, a discussion on a game that I love. This is from Blue Sky 900. This guy is an awakening wizard knit main, so you know he's a top in the bedroom.
This video is going to be a bit different from my usual uploads. You can tell because, well, first of all, it's me here. Usually I don't have my model or my face cam on.
I was about to say, normally he doesn't stream with anything.
Videos, but this video is going to be a bit different. It's not going to be a guide. It's going to be a little bit more informational and kind of like a video essay.
VTube avatar, Instabottom, not necessarily true. I've seen some VTubers and met them in real life. They would be tops, for sure. A lot of guys, they RP as bottoms, but the reality of the situation is the moment they hit the bedroom, they're absolutely on top.
And this comes about because of...
We just want a girl that could potentially take the reins. You know what I'm saying?
Recently Choice, you know who Choice is. He's one of the biggest video streamers and content creators in the game and in the scene. And him and some of the other larger content creators...
Who's he talking about?
Informational and kind of like a video essay. And this comes about because of recently Choice. If you know who Choice is, he's one of the biggest video streamers and content creators
what did Choice say?
In the game and in the scene. And him and some of the other larger content creators made a podcast in which they discussed the state of Black Desert. And these videos aren't anything new. People have done them in the past. Normally, when these kinds of things are made, I would just let them have their conversation, keep to myself, maybe listen to it, see what my opinions on it would be, and just kind of like, you know, just see what goes on. But after doing some thinking this time around, I realized that me not really saying anything is the equivalent of letting them speak for me.
Thank you. Jesus Christ, dude. This is what I'm encouraging people to do now. Is I'm encouraging people to make videos, even in my community. Even if you don't have a YouTube, you don't have a Twitch, you don't want to show your face, no problem. Just put your character on the screen and just start talking. Okay? If you have an opinion on something, let it be heard. You have people in this community, mainly me, who are willing to platform your ideas and your thoughts on the game, good or bad. Okay? You can make those videos. You can even leave them unlisted, put them in my Discord. I'll react to them. I will platform your idea. I will platform your thoughts on the game. That is how it works. Okay? I'm glad that he saw Choice's video and had the same reaction. Because if you just sit there idle, nothing gets done.
When it comes to how the game could be improved, because I'm not letting my be known, so the only thing the devs or anyone else has to go off of is from what they've said. So this time around, I'm not just going to be a spectator. I'm going to try.
It's really sad that he and everyone in the community thinks that Perlibus really only listens to people if they're content creators. Because that is true. And it's annoying that they can't just listen to their players, like actually listen to their players, whether it be on the forums or, God forbid, Reddit or Discord or whatever, or any feedback that they get.
Diva. Be involved in the conversation, which is why I'm making this video. So in this video, I'm going to discuss how I feel about all this the game that were discussed in Choice's podcast. And his video will also be linked in the description, by the way. So if you want to see exactly how they feel about it and how they feel about the current state of the game and stuff, you can check all that out as well by checking down the description and clicking that link. And as always, I will have...
Who's on Choice's podcast, by the way? Hold on. We're at 158.
Well, let's get things started.
Jinne Verdict. Okay, Grimkill, Hugh Hotbar, and Namiko. So it's just Choice talking about the state of the game for 3 hours. I'd listen to it.
Hey guys. If you want to see exactly into it. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the new region, Edania, and the state of PvE after its release. So, in
You're
my
doing it less.
opinion, overall, Edania is a good expansion, the strongest part of which is probably the storyline, even though that's hard to believe.
That's not good. That's not good. When the strongest part of the BDO expansion is the storyline, brother, that's rough, because that storyline was not like it was better than the other storylines, but bro, that's the bar. That's crazy. I think that the Edania expansion was everything on the Edania expansion was really solid, with the exception of what killed it for everybody. And they always do this. Really solid content, and then they weekly gated it, right? So they weekly gated it. They killed the whole expansion for a lot of people, right? But like the terrain, the atmosphere, the design of the different spots, and the bosses, the boss fights feel unique and fun, right? All of that stuff is fun. It's all weekly gated, so it's all right. But like, I think that the expansion on the whole, if you take out the weekly gated part, is one of the best expansions we've had in BDO in many years. In many, many years. Blue, are you gay? No. No, Mom, I'm not gay. Like, I get, bro, I don't, like, you asked me at dinner the other night, and now, again, it's like, oh, I'll just pretend I'm a viewer. Like,
The story in this expansion is the best, most well-written one I've experienced so far since I started playing BDO. So, if
story
there's one
nobody gives a
thing
shit.
I think the expansion did right, it's the story.
This guy's racist. I'll be honest with you. I made jokes about the main story being super racist. It actually is crazy racist, bro. You send the black people in first. All of them die. And then you go in and kill everything, right? That's what you do. And then again, and that's for Nymphomere. And then you get to the final boss, and like there's like 4 people sitting in the room. She freezes the black guy and turns him to stone and kills him. It's crazy. It's actually just insane. Then you go to the grind zone, and it's Nagas. Okay? None of which can actually swim, despite the fact that there's water everywhere. Oh, hell no. Bro, that shit is crazy, bro. It's crazy work, bro. It's crazy. I mean, they opened themselves up to so many jokes. It was insane, right? Yeah, no, I can't grind there anymore. I have Naga fatigue. It's too easy. You get off your horse there, you're like, yeah, I think some Naga stole my horse. Bro, it's too easy. It's too
As far
It's too easy. I don't understand what they were thinking, bro. I actually don't understand what they were thinking.
as the grind spots go, they really aren't.
The day that I can find a woman that doesn't have a penis on any platform,
Anything to write home about. It's just more of the standard grind spots we've experienced with slightly different mechanics.
yeah, the grind spots, I think the theming on the grind spots is very, very good. You're looking at like, you look at Aetherion, you look at the Zephyros, you look at Tenebrum. The theming, like the atmosphere of the castle and stuff, very, very cool. But the fact that they're all tower spots with the same basic like AFK mechanic at the end is really, really underwhelming and leaves a lot to be desired.
I do still think the spots are enjoyable. I'm not saying the new spots aren't fun, but
No, they're
they
not fun.
aren't anything to write home
They're not. They're nothing new.
about. They're not
Uninspired.
fun or exciting enough to get to the point where it's like I'm blown away by their design. They're
Has anyone seen this sage literally just doing laps in Velia? And I don't mean to call a homie out, but like
enough to get to the point where it's like I'm blown away by their.
this is this dude's like 3rd lap. I've been watching this make All right, he been doing the same. He talking to someone in Discord and he just running laps. Like it's an Olympic swimming pool or something. I do that all the time.
Design. They're groundbreaking. They're unbelievable, right?
Is he on
They're
auto
just
loop?
good.
No, he's
They're
using
fun.
skills.
They are what they are. They're kind of what we can expect from grind spots. It is what it is. And again, this at its core isn't a bad thing. As like I said, they aren't
It is a bad thing.
enjoyable, but them not being anything exciting and truly new does put a bit of a damper on the expansion for some players, which is understandable. In the podcast, they mentioned tower spots being too common and just overdone. But I feel like realistically at this point in the game, so many different grind spots exist that the question really becomes, can they really make anything else that is unique enough to feel fresh?
That's not a fair argument, in my opinion. Because how many so if you're 850 gear score, name a grind zone that you can grind at that isn't a tower spot, that isn't gonna grief you. There isn't one. There's not one. The closest grind zone that you have is Tungrad Ruins. And it griefs you when you compare it to Zephyros. Right? The closest grind zone you've got, you compare it to Tenebrum, it's not even close. Right? And so like and I think that Darkseeker's Retreat, Darkseeker's is not so there's Tungrad where you grind in a circle, right? With a bunch of mobs, and I think that is the most fun grinding, in my opinion. Then you have Darkseeker's Retreat, where you're taking 2 to 3 packs of mobs, and you're kind of just going back and forth, or most people just take 2 packs of mobs, and they just run back and forth to those packs of mobs, right? And then there's just tower spots, where you just stand in the middle of the tower and just farm the same spot for hours, right? In my opinion, I like the Tungrad the most. But sometimes I want to it'd be nice to be able to grind the tower spots. I think that that's reasonable. Sometimes I'm feeling lazy. But the current problem with the innovation is that there is no ability to grind anything but this one. There's nothing. Nymphomere is kind of pack to pack. No. Nymphomere is like Darkseeker's Retreat. Nymphomere is like Darkseeker's Retreat, and I'll be honest with you, still feels kind of like a tower spot, right? Because you still you're just grinding around a very small, like 2 to 3 packs of mobs. Usually it's 3 packs, and you're waiting for the packs to spawn, and you stand there, and it's all relatively right at the same spot. And then eventually a boss spawns, and then you kill the boss, and then you have an AFK period or whatever, where you kill the little fishies, and you don't really have to do very much, and then you go back to the thing, right? So like it's the same shit. And Aetherion, Nymphomere, Zephyros, and Tenebrum are all basically the same thing. It would be like saying that Tenebrum is not a tower spot. Tenebrum is also, in my opinion, I think that this kind of grinding, like the Darkseeker's Retreat grinding and tower grinding, are basically the same thing. For all intents and purposes, it's the same thing. You cannot accelerate or decelerate your grind based on your pack-to-pack movement. You can't like adjust your rotation and stuff, right? It's just, you're just standing there rotating around a big boss that eventually spawns, then it dies, and then you kill the boss, and then you wait AFK while the mobs die for you, and then you do the same thing again. And it's extremely uninspired, and we've seen it since Darkseeker's Retreat, basically. And Dekia was the first place that we actually saw this. And the most discouraging part as a player is that we told them we didn't want any more Dekia spots, and they were like, so they gave us every Dekia spot in the game except for the group ones, and then decided not to give us the group grind zones, and then gave us more tower spots with Land of the Morning Light grind zones. And then when we came to Edania, it's even more tower spots with Edania. And there's no variety in grind zones. It's not any different than it was before. Like, it's always just tower spots. They refuse to allow us to, like, bro, Tenebrum Castle, like the Karshan, could have been a group grind zone. Everybody picks on Elvia. Everybody picks a zone, right? And then you have the dude in the middle, and everybody kills, the mobs keep spawning at them, and everybody kills mobs at their tower, right? And then at the end, the boss comes down, and then everybody comes together to kill the boss. It would have been really easy. And then on the normal server, where it's not Elvia, you could have just had it be like it is now. But they just refused to do that. And in fairness, that legitimately would have been like, people would have been like, oh my God, this is an innovative grind zone. It would have worked. We would have taken it. It would have been fine. But instead, we got basically the same grind zones every single time. And I don't think it's a fair argument to be like, well, nothing would be new at this point. It's not about things being new. It's about having the option to do it as a high-end player, or even as a mid-end player, or even as a low-end player, right? Low-end players in BDO have an option. They can go to Desert Nagas and get like the pack-to-pack experience, or they can go to a spot like mmorpg Ruins and they can get the tower experience. Alternatively, they can go to Giffen Raz and get a group party grind zone experience, right? You move into the mid game and your options narrow. You lose your group grind zone ability. No group grinding in the mid game for the most part. You're going to Honglim base, but you have the option to go. You still have some pack-to-pack stuff like Elvia Orcs. Technically, you have Giants, right? And maybe Baragi Den and stuff like this. But like you're starting to, your circle of what you're able to do shrinks. Then as you level up even further, now you're at Ulakita and you're at Fortunate Pig Cave and Unfortunate Pig Cave and DSR and Tungrad and stuff like this. Okay, well now it's narrowed even further. Now you only have one spot where you have pack-to-pack and everything else is basically maybe two if you consider Pig Cave pack-to-pack, but even that is more like Darkseekers. But you could say that's pack-to-pack. I would be willing to give that, right? But again, your options narrow with what you're being able to do. And then you get to late game and it's only the new grind zones, and that's only tower. There's no pack-to-pack, there's no group grinding, there's nothing. There's no variety. It is just the same thing every single time, right? And that's the big problem. It's not that it needs to be like this new innovative grind zone. It's that the people that used to grind at these areas, they want the option to do more than one thing. And to be clear, we're not advocating to get rid of tower spots. We're advocating to add more than just tower spots, because there's always some dipshit in my YouTube comment section that is like, oh, well, I actually love tower spots, so I love the design direction. And they miss the entire point of the argument, where like the world doesn't revolve around them and like other players would like an option. And to be clear, they will also want an option to do anything different at some point. They would like to shake it up somehow, and they won't be able to, and then they'll understand everyone else's argument.
I mean, yeah, they could go back to pack-to-pack spots, but
Tungrad Ruins is kind of fun, pack-to-pack with the mechanics. Yeah. I think the reason they got away from Tungrad Ruins as a spot is because there's too much diversity in how much silver per hour you make based on your class, and they don't want to balance it. But like, I would argue that we used to have enough pack-to-pack grind zones where like there was a grind zone for every class. Whereas like if you're a witch, you go here. If you're a Lan, you go there. If you're a Zerker, you can go here, right? And there were options. Nowadays, they don't want to have to balance it. And like the cool thing was the skill expression of going from this pack to this pack and understanding that like sometimes if you skip that pack, you can go to this pack and it's actually faster, right? So like you used to be able to like map out your grind and like min-max your rotation and then get like really good at it. And then like you would work on like, because the mobs are standing in different positions sometimes, so you have to like hop to different areas and stuff. And like it was fun, right? It's not fun all the time. Sometimes you just want to sit there at a tower spot and go, I'm gonna use God Infinawaya. You know, like sometimes that's what you want to do, but other times that's not what you want to do, and we don't have the option right now, right? So yeah.
At the end of the day, that's just the same old, just being brought back. It'll feel fresh for a little bit, but then, you know, people will get sick of it eventually. There is one area, however, when it comes to grind zones, that has remained largely untouched, and that is group grind spots. This has been a hot topic recently, even before the podcast that Choice made. And it's something that I also wish PA would make more of. There was a recommendation in the podcast for a scalable system that increases the difficulty of spots based on how many players are currently in combat there, up until a cap of a full party, for example. And while this is simple and is a decent idea, I feel like this, at the end of the day, will be extremely boring and underwhelming. This is basically the bad way of increasing difficulty in games by bloating enemy stats, and I feel like it should not be done. Spots do scale, It should be through the addition of mechanics that actually change how the spot functions instead. However, even this could be problematic as these spots with mulligans are essentially Dekia spots, are they not? The player base did make it very clear that they do not like Dekia spots, so I feel like the developers probably would shy away
Yeah, we don't necessarily want Dekia spots. We just want group grind zones.
from doing that.
It's not hard.
I do feel like, though, if it meant more group slots became available, players would probably put up with more scaling spots and then kind of going back to the whole Dekia system, just because that's how badly some people want group spots. I do have more I want to say and discuss on group spots, but that's not really relevant for this current section of the video. So just keep watching, and later on come back around to this and we'll see how it plays into some of the other stuff I'm going to move on to discuss. So moving on to the next topic I wanted to talk about is the bosses in it.
Dude, I'm sorry. This Sage, though?
Discuss. So moving on to the next
There he is again. Dude.
topic I wanted
Bro, he's still going. He's still going. This dude is just going in
to
circles.
talk about is the bosses
Let him have
in
fun.
Edania.
Can I post a link? Yeah, post a link.
The general consensus here is that the fights are way too easy, and I do agree with that. I enjoy it when games
Did he just say the Edania bosses are way too easy? Hercules right now. Hercules dressed up as Nymphomere for Halloween. Because that bitch scares the shit out of him.
are hard and have challenging things in them, but I'm not dumb. I know that I'm most likely in the minority when it comes to wanting things that are actually really hard to complete, especially for things like progression. But the crazy thing is, there's a solution.
I have a hot take. I think that the Edania bosses are right on the money in terms of like difficulty. I think that it requires you to show some competency on your class, but it's not overwhelmingly difficult. And I think they kind of nailed that, in my opinion. He could be right. You gotta voice your opinion on that, but like
Solution that makes everyone happy, and it's a problem that was already solved back in Land of the Morning Light with the Calamity system.
it's weekly homework. It shouldn't be tough.
I don't think anyone really disliked how the difficulty system worked in Land of the Morning Light, so I'm truly shocked and surprised that the new bosses didn't have any type of scaling difficulties. Like, we had a good system, it made everyone happy, the sweats could get their challenge, and the players who just want rewards could get what they wanted. Why?
I don't know. I think it's more concerning to me that you can't do any boss that you want. I think that it should be scaling difficulty, kind of like I think I know what he's saying. I think that they should be like this. I think that when you go to do your weekly, you should be able to do like C7 or C10 Karshan, right? Alternatively, there's like a C10 Jordine and a C10 Ancelar and whatever, depending on which boss you want to do. And then you get your, if you want to make it based on gear, that's fine. But like you should let people do whichever boss that they want. Like, I don't know why, like I never get to do another boss ever again.
Why did we not just do that again? It just makes no sense. I don't know why the bosses are the way they are right now. It feels like maybe they were just rushed out, or I don't know. There's also been talk about the story versions of the fights themselves being way too easy for how these characters and beings
Crazy.
were
take.
built up as essentially demigods, like these crazy powerful things that no one can beat. They're just insanely strong. And while I do think it would be cool for even the story fights to have some kind of challenge to them, and
I'm an Evelyn enjoyer, okay? I don't like Briar because of her feet. It's disgusting. She is hot, though.
in the long run, I do think this is just a bad idea, as most players don't care for that in this game, and they just want to experience the story, or in the more likely case, just spam R. A difficulty option before the fight could work. That would make the fight be in the form of the calamity difficulties instead of the story difficulty. But I feel like unless there is some reward for actively opting into a harder version of the story fight, what's the point of it out of just the satisfaction of, hey, I did it? So maybe they could add a unique title or something to flex which version of the story you did. Could be a nice option for players to show the achievement you made by completing that fight in a more difficult way. And this next point does contain potential story spoilers when it comes to the boss fights. So skip forward maybe like 30 seconds to a minute if you want to avoid the spoiler.
Yo, does anyone
But
give a shit?
Edania Part 2
No, we're
will
good.
most likely have the gods of BDO be the main antagonists, as at the end of
We're gonna fight Lakari? That's on theme. Black people were already persecuted during the Nymphomere quest line, so.
Part 1 story, it is revealed that all the gods in the world have submitted to Hadum and likely have been corrupted, which means they're all evil now. And this plays into the whole we are the god slaying king aspect of the story, which was very prevalent in the Part 1 expansion. So I
didn't get any of that. Anybody, I have no idea what the f he's even talking about. Sure.
hope
Sure.
that if we
yeah.
do end
yeah.
up fighting
We're gonna fight
actual
gods. Yeah.
that they do make them extremely challenging and not as much of a letdown as the current bosses are. The state of grind zones and boss fights is one thing, but at the end of the day, it is why we do them and what motivates us to do them that matters. I'm of course talking about getting better gear. In my opinion, gear progression in BDO is only getting worse, and with the release of Edania, the gear progression is probably the worst it has ever been. The first and biggest offender to me is time-gated progression. While time-gating progression was not introduced with Edania, it's nothing new. It's never been this extreme.
If they time gate the rest of the content in BDO after this, I might actually quit BDO, because this is actually beyond infuriating. With how much effort I put into this game and how much time I spend on it, to just be completely hosed by RNG is just, and there being no recourse for it, makes me not want to play the game. This is why I've quit other games in the past, too. I quit playing MMOs for years.
Yep. Just because every time I say that it's unfun, some in my comments section has to be like, haha, idiot spends thousands of dollars and then complains that there's nothing to do. Okay, what's Zethian's excuse then? Come on. Come on. What's Zethian's excuse then? Because he didn't spend any money. Fucking idiots.
Time gating started back in Land of the Morning Light, and we never really saw any increase or desire to go back to time gating after it was released. We had multiple updates and expansions where time gating just wasn't a thing. Clearly I was wrong though, as they took time gating to the extreme with Edania.
Yep.
At least in Land of the Morning Light, you get a pretty decent amount of taps per week. You maybe get like 36 taps a week if you did all the bosses. But with Edania, the most you can get is 5 taps a week. And that is only for players approaching the gear cap.
Literally.
The vast majority of the players
at the gear cap. Players currently at the gear cap for the game. Like, you cannot get, your accessories can't get any stronger, your weapons can't get any more stronger, and your armor is weekly gated. So you are literally at the gear cap just doing the weekly gated armor content. That's who that's for.
base will be getting around 1 to 3 taps a week, which really feels bad. Time gating in BDO, in my opinion, completely goes against the philosophy of what the game originally had when it came to gearing.
Exactly.
BDO has always allowed you to grind for what you want for as long as you want. How quickly you progress was completely based on how much time you put into the game. This is one of the reasons I have yet to quit the game, as it did not devolve into do your dailies and your weeklies and then log off.
Yeah, there's that clip of Choice on Pistanity, and Choice is like, chat, if you're not just doing your weekly gated content in BDO, like your Pit of Undying, your weekly gated shit for Edania, your T10 weekly, and like all that, you listed off all the things, then you're just wasting your time. I mean, he wasn't wrong, you know, like.
You could always have something to do in the game no matter what. That is one of the major things that sets BDO apart from other games. It is not a theme park MMO. Stop trying to make it one, man. The players that enjoy those games
Very
are
well
not
said.
your target audience.
Oh wait, no,
The
very
other
well
thing that is a
said.
main complaint with gear progression for me is that endgame players feel like there's nothing to grind for.
Something that can't be sold should not be time gated. It should be rare. I completely agree. Also, this guy, I'm approving your message. I never said it, but the devs are approved. Stamp of approval. You've come to the right stream.
And in Edania, there are endgame items, right? You get your 1,000 end times, you get your heralds, and then you're done. That's it. Those are your endgame. That's your endgame grind. And now this sounds like a grind in any other MMO, right? Company adds item, player completes item, and the cycle continues, right? It's just a gear treadmill. The problem isn't that there are no new items to go for. It's that chase items in BDO no longer exist. And the current state of the game, the only
Some idiot will be like, treasure items.
real chase item is not even an item, it's an enhancement level. Specifically, trying to go from knob to deck items is what I'm talking about. Simply chasing an enhancement is significantly less fun to go for, in my opinion, as now you are no longer grinding for the dopamine of a rare drop, but just for raw silver so you can buy crons, so you can do your taps. This makes grinding more boring and feel more monotonous, in my opinion. In the past, our chase item was Deboreka accessories. These accessories were...
That shit was worse. Well, it was better, but only because it wasn't weekly gated. It was better because it wasn't weekly gated, but that shit was ass, bro. You were making 300 mil an hour, but it was not weekly gated.
extremely difficult to get. And also, when they were still chase items, were not required for anything in the game. They were just bonus stats
Also
you
true.
could get
Yep.
to do what you could already do, but
Yep.
slightly better.
Yep.
Of course, at their
Very
core, MMOs are geared treadmills, so eventually Debos would have to stop being these chase items, right? And they would become the norm and be required for content in the future, right? That's fine. That's how MMOs work. That's what I expect. That's what
I never want to hear anybody in my community ever say this line. As a new player, I'm stuck farming for Fen Deboreshka and AFK fishing. I'm not geared enough to do anything else. And people wonder, I love it. Do you guys see the problem? You guys see the problem with this statement, right? And people wonder why I advocate for new players to do Karazhan. And people wonder why I tell people to do Karazhan. And it's funny because people like Lunai will tell me that I'm going to get a bunch of people to quit the game. People are going to, thousands of people are going to quit the game because Blue recommends this other way. No, it's your way. Your way. Your way gets people to quit the game. See, because now we have a new player that feels like they can't do anything but try to grind for a pen debo and AFK fish. And they feel like they can't do anything else. That's what gets people to quit the game. Like, you can do it. It is technically silver efficient. But let me give you an example of something else that's silver efficient that people never do. Because on paper, it seems like a great idea. But in practice, nobody ever does it in BDO, right? On paper, the pen debos for Nuv Karazad is technically better, right? Because it's silver efficient. Do you know something else that's silver efficient, but people never do? And you'll notice all the new players, they all go Karazad anyway. They at least get to pen Karazad. At least they get to pen Karazad, and then they could go grind for pen debos. And that's an acceptable route. That's fair. But if you're sitting on pen ogre with pen crescents and you're grinding for pen debos, you're griefing yourself. Hard griefing. But like, again, having to transition to Karazads early is better. In the same way, Sovereign is exactly the same thing. What is the best way to get your main or Awakening Sovereign weapon? What is the most silver efficient way, chat, to get your main or awakening sovereign weapon? What's the most silver efficient way? MasterCard. Well, that is fair. The 6-month grind. That's right. The bosses doing the world bosses for 6 straight months. Right? Like 6 months of bosses in Land of the Morning Light is technically the most cost efficient way to get your gear. Yet nobody does it. Yet no one really does that. Why? Because on paper, it's silver efficient. But when you actually go to practice it, people just get the pen debos and they get the pen black stars and they trade them in. Right? Right. At least for one of them. Now, if you're really smart, what you do is if you're an awakening class, you buy the double black star for your awakening and get the sovereign really quick. And then your main hand, you do the 6-month thing. But most people are just going to buy the black stars. Right? Like, that's just how it is. Maybe you do a little of column A and little of column B. But the pen debo route is exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. On paper, yeah, it's more efficient. But in practice, nobody does it. And I state as evidence. It's funny that all of these people that were like, remember, Lunai's video and a bunch of other people gave me such a hard time because they said that you should be going for double Jatina, Ochre rings, and all this other shit. And then you just stay on that and you grind on that until you get your Karazad, right? Or until you get your pen debos. And these same people are now like, well, now you want to go pen Karazad until pen, or now you want to go Karazad until pen and then go pen debo. Okay, so Blue Squadron's way. No. This is still our way.
People who will realistically do the most silver efficient progression, boss 4 Sov, pen debos, are people who are big into life skills and won't really use the gear anyway.
So my way. It's always my way. Okay? Like, you can bitch, whine, and moan about how Blue Squadron's wrong and all this shit, but like, I've done it. I've done the grind before. I know what it's like to be one of these players. Okay? And at least getting to pen Karazad before having to go for pen debos is basically absolutely required in the game. You can't even get Jordine. You can't even get to Jordine because you need red gear, or you need like the orange gear or whatever. So, you want to grief yourself for your armor, then sure, don't go Karazad. Them. All right, that's what it is. You just do it my way, right? At least my way. At least get to pen Karazad. At least get pen Karazad. And then if you want to grind for pen debos at that point, it's much more reasonable. Anything before that is griefing.
But everyone should expect. But the problem is no new chase item was added to the game to replace these.
That sage is
If
still
you
going
think
in
the end
circles.
time or herald grind is enough to replace that type of grind, you are horribly wrong. Let's do some math. My current average for end times is I get around 6 per hour with where I grind at.
Oh God.
So
Yeah, the end times, I just gave up, bro. I'm finally done. I have all 6 of my Jin crystals, my Jin crystals done. And I'm just ordering on the marketplace. I'm just ordering end times to get the rest, like to get like for my accuracy, upgrade my accuracy Jin Karazad crystals, and then my DR and my evasion crystals. Because fuck it, bro.
if we assume I want around 1,000
What's the link for this video? I got you.
end times for what I want to make, that means it would take me around 167 hours of grinding. If we go back in time to when debos were chase items, you would get a debo.
You know what? I'm gonna pin. I think that moving forward, what I can do is I can pin whatever video we're watching. I can pin it in the chat while we're watching the video. Not a bad idea.
Maybe once every 3 hours. So if we grind for the same 167 hours, that means I would end up with 55 Deberekas. This is enough for maybe 1 or 2 pen attempts. So this means the entire endgame item grind in Edania in the past would have gotten you a couple attempts at best of getting a single chase item that endgame players were going for.
Sure.
That means with average luck, a single pen debo getting that chase item would take around 5 times longer than the entire endgame grind in Edania. Now imagine that, but there's 6 Deborahs
I was about to say, now imagine that, but there's 6 of them.
you could go for.
Crazy work.
That is an insanely long grind.
Yep.
And I know that
So
sounds
cooked, bro.
horrible. People don't always want to do that long grinds. It's a very small it's a very small minority of people that actively are.
Guys, some kids are at the door. They're out of chocolate. I have to go give them more food. Hold on. I have to give them more candy. Hold up.
His kids meaning strippers he hired for Halloween.
What the fuck? No, dude. By kids, I mean kids, bro. I live in like a really nice, like, suburban neighborhood, you freak. Like, there's kids that, you know, like, they go trick-or-treating and stuff. Normally, I like taking Halloween off, because then I can, because honestly, what kids really like at Halloween around here is, like, telling jokes and stuff. And they also like, you know, they like the interaction of handing them the candy and stuff. I don't know, it's weird. But, like, and it's fun, right? My neighbors are all out, too. Like, my neighbors are all out. We all talk. We have a good time. They're all standing out there talking right now. I'm not out there with them because I'm working, and there's nothing I can do. It is what it is, right? It is what it is.
Doing those kinds of grinds.
Megamind giving out candy. You, Megamind's goated.
You have to remember, Debos were not required or needed for anything. They were just these extra, super difficult, crazy rare, and difficult items to go for. Adding these chase items to the game again is something
Kids are weird. Now adults are scared of me with the trick-or-treating age. Well, that's fine, too. That's why I left the candy just sitting on the porch. And there's a sign on it that says, Happy Halloween, take 3. Is it? Roger?
really hope they do, because it is something that endgame players need. Your hardcore endgame player base wants those kinds of things to go for, and just not adding them away from the dopamine they used to go for when they grinded. And to summarize my opinion here, what is currently wrong with gear progression is it is becoming too focused on time gating, and there's just no true endgame items to grind for. An enhancement level feels a lot less satisfying than grinding for an item. So I really hope they change how they do that in the future.
I am so happy that not a single child has knocked on my door in 20+ years for candy. Nor have I ever seen children knocking on doors for candy.
Well, the adults are with them. It's not like the kids are walking around unsupervised. What are we talking about?
Changes I have discussed so far hint at PA trying to turn BDO into your typical mainstream theme park MMO. This is not what BDO was originally designed to be, and is for me, as I am sure is for many other players, the reason that I enjoy the game and have yet to quit it. Like I said earlier, every time I have quit an MMO, it has been because it always devolves into dailies and weeklies, and that's it. I feel like I'm just doing chores.
Yep. Exactly what Zethian said, exactly what he's saying. Yep. The moment that it feels like it's a chore, you stop playing the game. That's why Lost Ark players don't play Lost Ark. They go back to Lost Ark, they do the new raid content, they play for a while, and eventually it becomes chores. They log out, they don't go back until the new content comes back out, and then they do it again.
There's nothing else to do besides that.
Shit.
It sucks.
We all hate chores.
There is no way to play the game beyond those things. BDO is different. It is not a theme park MMO. It is a sandbox MMO.
It's supposed to be.
BDO has been moving away from this ever since they killed open world PvP with the guild deck system changing, removing the ability to declare war on anyone whenever you want. Something I often say they have done is made a sandbox and then decided they want to take all the sand out of it. So all we have now is just an empty box. Nothing fun in it to play with, right? And as much as some may hate to admit it, it was the old...
It's not true. They give you like a toy to play with once a week for 30 minutes at a time, and then they take it away.
State of PvP before the war deck changes that really made the sandbox be, well, a sandbox.
No! No! No PvP! No! None! No! Stop asking! No! Pearl Abyss has already apologized. Okay? They have apologized profusely. The fact that you keep asking is so toxic to them. Okay? Jay is wiping his ass with measly $50 bills. Do you have any idea how much less money he is making now? God. So privileged. It's only 50s now. It used to be like hundreds. They already apologized. What more do you want? They're sorry for the inconvenience, but also no PvP. No. 9. We've heard this somewhere before.
It made it so that you never knew exactly what would happen at your grind spot. It made players actively go out and grind together to help defend their spots. It let players create their own
Because
conflict
they test the time gate on ours.
and interguild storylines. Players actually were able to interact in the open world with each other. Now, while I personally would love to see the return of open world PvP in its original state, I know that I am massively in the minority here. I get it, and I do think
No, he's not. He's not in the minority. He's not. I have not heard a single person other than I have seen one comment with like 5 upvotes on it in one of my videos that was like, I love that BDO is now doing weekly gated content. They loved it. And the reason was they were like a dad or something and they don't have time to no life the game and they don't have any extra money. So like it helps them keep up with people that can no life the game. And so it's great for them. And that is a terrible, terrible take. But they did have it. That's it. That's literally the guy.
Changes with the war deck system.
Blue Sky VT. Wait, did you change your name? Is this you? Why? You did change your name. What? But you didn't change your name on YouTube? You changed your name on one platform, but not the other ones? Yeah, sort of, guys. Yeah, it's Blue Sky VT, V before the T.
We're probably for the best. However, the fact that that is all they did is remove that is the problem.
You're not the minority, bro. You're the majority.
They took the sand out of the sandbox and didn't give us any new sand to play with. With open world PvP dead, the sandbox isn't there anymore. Players are no longer interacting with each other outside of...
Everybody points at open world PvP, but the real reality of the situation is it's Node Wars that need to come back, and then open world PvP will come back because Node Wars is active. That's how it works. If there were enough Node War guilds, there would be beef, natural beef that happens between those Node War guilds. And if there were plenty of Node War guilds, there would be open world PvP that happened as a result of those Node War guilds beefing with each other. And you're like, oh, well, they just will refuse the deck. No, they won't. No, they won't. Because if there's enough PvP guilds, if there's enough Node War guilds, what we will all do is we will collectively, if some guild is being a bitch, we will literally just be like, yeah, you don't get to be part of the fights. We legitimately will not let you participate in the content. We will zerg you off of every fight. Every time you drop, we'll zerg you. You're not allowed at Siege, whatever, until you start accepting war decks. And that would fix the problem. And then people would be, and we would all, it would be like Emperor Palpatine. And at last, we will have peace. Okay, like that's...
content.
That's how it would be,
They need to add more sandbox elements back into the game to bring back that original feeling of the world being more interactive, more alive.
There will never be open world PvP without Node War guilds. It does not matter. You cannot input what is going on in this. What do you guys see this? I can't believe it took me this long to notice this. Stop this. Enhance. Pause. Enhance. Bring that in. Girl! Anyway, there must first be Node War guilds. And then there can be open world PvP. If there are no Node War guilds, there will be no open world PvP. It doesn't matter how good the open world PvP is. It could be the best system in the world. Nobody will do it. Because there's no one to compete for.
One thing that they tried out.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I said no more Coomer emotes. Jesus Christ. People come into my chat. They think they clicked on Pornhub. No more Coomer emotes. I told you no more or I will delete all of them. You understand? No more. Okay, I'm gonna delete. I'm gonna, for every one you add, I'm gonna remove 3. Do you understand? At this point, I will remove 3 echidna emotes for every Coomer emote that you add at this point. I mean, we ran it down into straight for like 5 hours just because we weren't bitches and everyone else dodged them. Exactly. Yeah. We figured out.
Out, for example, was the abandoned monastery grind zone, where eventually...
Yeah, you must send the new lewd emotes directly to my DMs in 720p.
Hello? Hello?
Hello? It must be in 720p or it's not even worth it. You understand? I have to approve it.
The entire channel would get a notification of the boss at the spot spawning, which actively gave players a reason to go there and interact with each other to try to get the kill on that boss, get the credit for it, and get the items it drops. Another one is Murlowax Labyrinth, which had players work together in a grind spot.
I thought Murlowax
was
great.
A boss that they would then defeat together.
It was a very popular
we may
grind
have
zone.
Lost the PvP sandbox, but why can't we replace it with a PvE one instead? This goes back to what I was saying earlier, where I mentioned I have some more I wanted to talk on group grind spots, and this is exactly what I mean. Let's make the group grind spots more of a sandbox. I have an examples for you. So
that Sage is coming back around. Hold on, guys.
Which is one of the new grind zones. If you don't know, that spot consists of 6 totems around a central large totem. Okay? Imagine if each player would grind at only 1 totem in what a rotation now consists of. And after a fixed period of time that a totem is active, a boss would spawn at the large central totem. The difficulty and drop rates of this boss would...
Oh, dude, no. It's too small. Orbit is too small for this thing, but yeah, it's literally the same thing I suggested at Nymphomere. It's the same thing I suggested at Nymphomere. Nymphomere is better for this because it's more spread out grind zone.
Be based on how many mobs were killed, or maybe
which
how
game
many
is this
times
friend
a mechanic
asking
was
for a friend
successful at one of the central totem or the surrounding totems. The boss kill would not be about increasing the trash loot too much, but be about getting the rare drops to drop with as high a chance as possible. You could then have other players roll up to the grind spot, see you grinding one of the totems, and then join in at one of the other totems that no one's at. This would then mean you have 2 players grinding at totems in the spot, which increases how many mobs were killed, or how many mechanics were successful between the boss
Sage just went by.
And this makes the boss scale further because more was done in between the spawns. And when the boss scales up, not only does it get more health, maybe more damage, maybe some new mechanics, it would also get higher drop rates. So you would get better items and be more likely to get good items from the boss. Players, if this kind of spot was created, would be working together in a sandbox style grind spot to achieve a common goal of amping up the boss as much as possible for the best drops for the whole group. On top of that, we could take this one step further even. What if every time a boss dies in the rotations throughout the entire grind zone, it adds to a counter, and eventually, after enough bosses are killed, it spawns a world boss version of Enslar herself. So you have...
That's crazy talk. That's insane. We're really just asking for group grind zones. We're running on Windows Vista here, so you're kind of dreaming.
Individual groups of players working to spawn and fight a boss, which all together work together to spawn a massive raid boss for everyone in the entire zone to participate in for some crazy reward potentially. This large boss would have, of course, 2
Is he stupid? No, why would he be stupid? Guys, stop it. I love how everyone is experimenting with emotes in chat like they're discovering them for the first time now. Now we've got Nikkei Poggies being discovered. This guy's like a kid in a bath. This dude's like, oh shit, look at that. Grab emote is crazy. Can y'all just chill out? Also, the caught emote is nuts, by the way. Yeah, that one is crazy. That one is That one can stay. Okay,
Probably take a lot of effort.
By far, this is the craziest one, by the way. By far, the most wild one. Literally, that one probably needs to be deleted. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. There's like a demon inside me that, I don't know. That one's probably got to go, though.
To spawn, but I feel it would be
work.
an awesome thing to see.
I'm going to take all those emotes away, and I'm going to replace them with some Zoomer, and for real, and every variation of it in the entire world. Could you stop? I will ban you.
If they do extremely sandboxy
trying to
things
watch a
like what I
video!
just described, I feel like the open world of BDO would be returned to feeling how it used to feel when PvP was what made sandbox work. But now we have PvE doing the job instead.
The Licka.
These kinds of crazy interactive grind spots where players can hop in, join in for the grind, and change how the grind works and how it functions would be an awesome way to see the sandbox of BDO return. And also, I'm just saying, imagine if PvP was also a thing in the open world on top of this crazy PvE sandbox stuff. It could be kind of fun. But that just about covers everything I wanted to say when it comes to PvE. So now we will move on to some PvP topics. First off is the current largest complaint in the PvP scene, which is that players are overly tanky and people are fed up with the air quotes rock meta.
I'm almost tired of saying it. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like a broken record. I feel like I always talk about how people are just way too tanky in PvP, and it's just obscene. Like Berserker and Striker and Hash and all these classes are just way too tanky. And like all the devs will say about it is that we're aware of the tanky meta, and we're looking into it. How many times have they told us that they're looking into it? We're aware and we're looking into it. I'm tired of it. It's been like 6 months. We've been looking into it for 6 fucking months. Nothing. We have had no changes. Like, nothing.
Personally, I like the tanky meta. It's an unpopular opinion, I know. A lot of people disagree with me. But my problem with the one-shot...
They did nerf DR? No, they didn't. They mildly nerfed crystals that people really didn't use crazy amount. Like, the bitterness crystals need to be only PvE crystals. Only monster damage reduction. I don't understand why they allow those to be used in PvP.
Meta that existed before.
It's absolutely just wild.
Comes from the fact that I play Awakening Wizard, which is one of the most immobile classes in the game. And a squishier meta, it makes classes like Awakened Caster, Suck Nova, Guardian, and so on, basically all the slow classes, not fun to play at all. This is because if you play perfectly on those classes in a squishy meta
Good news is
and
you are
never
the
have
only
any
BDO
gaps
streamer with active chatters.
That's not true. There are plenty of BDO streamers with active chatters. There's only one, in fact, that I am currently aware of that doesn't have active chatters, and they shall remain nameless. All right, now we're going to finish this video.
Don't get CC'd at all, you will usually just die to classes that can outmaneuver you while you're standing up, and you're not ever getting CC'd. In my opinion,
all right, chat,
in BDO...
chat, we're going to do a new exercise. No one say anything for the next 10 minutes. Okay? Y'all accuse me of yapping constantly. No one is allowed to say anything for the next 10 minutes, and that includes the wide diva ass. Do you understand? No, that means no wide diva ass, no poggy milf curse, no, holy shit, echidna ending, no licka. You need Jesus. There's no, that's fucking crazy. That's insane. None of this, no more. We're gonna shut up 10 minutes. 10 minutes, no one says a word. Do you understand? Man, I need 70. Come on, chat, you're already failing. Chat, you're already failing. Stop it. Nope. Well, we can't have good girl be the last thing. All right, everybody spam W. Everybody spam W right now. All my bots, go ahead and spam W. I paid good money for these. And then when I tell you to stop, everybody stops. Okay? I say stop. Nothing else for the next 10 minutes. Okay? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, stop. 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 No, the first thing I look over, I say stop. First thing I see is caught. You guys, all right. It's so cooked, bro. Okay, praise Jesus. Even YouTube is appreciating the 7 TV right now. Kick, not so much. They haven't said anything since gaming journalism.
Skill expression in PvP can be broken down into 2 things. First is being able to convert a catch with something like a stiffen into a full combo. The second is being able to properly stay protected and not get CC'd through proper stamina management, cooldown management, and positioning. I feel that in the perfect state of tankiness in PvP, you would not get killed as long as you are standing up, or in other words, not CC'd. The second someone outplays you and catches you is when you should then become vulnerable to actually dying, if that player knows how to convert that catch into a combo. So I implore you, PA, if you're going to take a look at the tank meta, do not make it so we just die while standing up.
In fairness, this is what Rangers deal with on a daily basis. If you're a Ranger, honestly, everybody wants to fuck you anyway because you have some thick-ass thighs and people trying to get up in there like a lick-it emote, you know what I'm saying? But Rangers die from standing constantly, so I mean, it is what it is.
Makes the less mobile classes innately more difficult and less
Also, DK does that too.
fun to play. Instead, I suggest changing how down attack and air attack work, or maybe even adding a new form of AP called AP against CC'd targets or something like that.
Do you mean like down attack? Come on, man. Just think it through, bro. You just think just think it through, man. You gotta think it through. Now, in fairness, you could be talking about CC again, or I mean like damage against like stiffened or stunned target.
Basically, make us less tanky, but only when we are CC'd. Players should be punished for messing up and getting caught, not for playing.
I'm surprised Blue no Lost Ark with these echidna emotes. Buddy, it's this guy right here. This dude is the biggest Lost Ark advocate you've ever seen in your entire life. This guy is like Amazon Game Studios, like greatest recruiter for Lost Ark right here. He tries to recruit everybody, and so he puts a bunch of lewd emotes in the chat with Lost Ark to try to lure you into that shit game. Got him.
Their class correctly and leaving no openings. Dying while standing up is one of the most frustrating things when it comes to PvP and BDO. Another issue in PvP is the disparity in guild strength, as well as the number of guilds that actively try to participate in Node War and Siege.
That is the primary problem.
Particularly in the uncapped forms of it. One easy way to fix this is to simply remove the alliance system. Alliances were designed to bolster.
No. Removing alliances will not remove the disparity between guilds. You misunderstand the problem, brother. My brother in Christ. I'm going to listen to your thoughts on it. But you are right. A big problem is the disparity in guilds. And I've talked about this on stream before, so I'm going to give like the punctuated version of this.
If you're a perma-saw class that can't be caught, when else are you going to die other than standing?
If you're Deadeyes will die from standing. DKs will die from standing. DKs can't SA trade for a shit. You ever tried to SA trade on a DK? It's rough. Okay, so the problem is, in fact, that there is a massive disparity between the top level guild, right, the rank 1, rank 2 guilds, first and second place guilds on a server, and then everyone else. Okay, and the gap has widened tremendously. And honestly, It's really the first. It's like the top 5 to 10 guilds, right, and everybody else. But really, it's like the top 5 guilds, and the gap is tremendously huge between the top like 3 to 5 guilds and everything else. And the reason that that gap is widened, you have to think critically about this subject. So previously, before we got the new Node War system, when a player would want to do Node Wars, they would start in T1 Node Wars, and they would learn what a recovery center was, how tempo worked, how to spawn at a flag, where flame towers were supposed to be built, and just like the basics of Node War, and understand how to move as an offense ball and pressure people as a guild. Now, because of the new Node War system and the developers forcing new players to do the new system instead of like doing the old system, which is what everybody else does, you have players getting into Node War, and they are taught a completely different system, one that they will never use again, and it isn't actually useful for really anything other than RBF. It's basically a glorified RBF. There's no sense of urgency. Structures just can be built wherever. Half the structures aren't even there or buildable. It's a complete shit show. It's basically like two virgins having sex in the dark for the first time, right? And then that player who is like just trying to stumble through it and figure out where the hole is, then turns around and graduates to a brand new Node War guild, and you know, they join Vagabonds or something, and they're immediately met with like Johnny Sins, Lana Rhodes on like a Saturday with cameras around. You know what I mean? Like it is a like catastrophic knowledge gap between the T1 guilds and the new guilds. Okay, so like they're learning two different systems, and it used to be that the T1 system indoctrinated players and they started to understand basic systems about Node War. There were like 30 to 60 T1 guilds. It was actively thriving. They would set up teams. They would fight each other, and no, they weren't very good at macroing. They weren't very good at placing flags or understanding how to do team fights, but they would try. And they would develop basic skills like understanding how to command a gather to places, how to use the elephant properly, how important recovery centers were, and how to generally build a base, things like this, right? None of that is gained knowledge anymore. When a guild wants to move up to like capped Node Wars outside of T1s for the very first time, there is a catastrophic knowledge gap between what they're supposed to know and what they now have to know. But from what they know currently, what they have to know. And it used to not be this way, not nearly as egregious. And there used to also be a lot more players to teach them how to actually play the game. Right? Players like myself or Loads or Roots or Soggy or anyone, and like any experienced veteran Node War guild, because there used to be dozens of different leadership cores that you could go to and ask them, hey, how do I build the base? Hey, how do I get involved in this team fight? Hey, how are we supposed to regroup here? Where's the flag supposed to go there? Things like this. How's the cannon team supposed to operate? What are we supposed to do with this cannon, right? Because we never used cannons before, right? And so like we would teach the incoming players how to play the game. And that is all gone now. So what you have is the leftover remnants of people that understand innately how to do large-scale PvP, like Loads, like Digi, and Vaga with Cho, and like all of those higher-end guilds, right? And Corrupt and whatnot, but Corrupt's not really a guild anymore, right? But like you have those higher-end guilds that already know stuff, and then there's no new guilds anymore. Every time a new guild tries to come up and get involved and you see new leadership cores, they immediately die out. Why? Because the learning curve is way too steep. It is not what they were used to in the T1 system. It's not what they're used to at all. The politics are from the politics to the base building to the structures that you're building to where you're placing them and how you're supposed to play the fight. Everything is completely different. And then they get to Siege and they're like a fish out of water, and it's the same shit. Okay, and these players really never truly have like a transitionary period to actually learn how to do all this stuff. The amount of knowledge that someone like me has compared to like somebody that's, even if there's like a T1 guild that's been doing T1 Node Wars for 6 months at this point, and they're just graduating to cap PvP, I would bulldoze those people in like 15 minutes with a guild of equal strength. And Loads of Money would too, so would Roots, etc. Because we understand how to place the flag. We understand how to use the elephant properly. We understand how to call for protected area. We understand how to organize a cannon team. We understand all of this, how to use a flex team properly. All of these different things are integral parts that it used to be that our T1 Node War scene would teach you at like a rough level. They would teach you these things at like a rough level. You're not taught these things anymore. Happy Halloween, Todd. Love you, buddy. You're not taught these things anymore. And what Perlibus thought they were doing is they thought that's like, oh, well, so many more players will get involved with Node Wars because it's easier to approach. Like that was their thought process on making the new Node War system. And it backfired really hard because they didn't want to change Siege, but they changed the new Node War system. So none of the new players, as of like a year and a half ago, have any idea how to properly play the game from a macro standpoint, from a team fight standpoint. They're all worthless. And I hate to say it, they don't know what the is going on. The shot callers, the leadership cores, etc. Right? Because all of the people that were supposed to be there to teach them the new system, they've all given up and moved on with their lives, or they're just like, they just don't care anymore. They've given up. They've left the game, whatever. All those people are gone now. And now the transition between T1 Node Wars and everything else is catastrophically difficult. And I feel bad like saying this out loud because the dev's solution to this is going to be to say, okay, we're going to nerf Siege to make it simpler. That's not what people want. People like the old Node War system because it's complicated. Okay, because at its heart, and I've said this many times before, you're dealing with men. You are dealing with men. Okay, you're not dealing with femboy pussies. You're not dealing with Care Bears. You're not dealing with anime waifu dipshits. Okay, you're dealing with men who want to compete with one another to see who is the better man or men. Okay, that's what ranked AOS is all about. That's what like guild wars are all about. Who are the better men? Who are better at the game than other people, and expressing the fact that you are better at the game than they are, that you know more about the game than they are, that you know life, the game, more than they do. That is what is quintessentially important to Node Wars, and trying to simplify that to a point that the devs have tried to do here with this new Node Wars system, where you have no competition. There's no competition. It's just RBF. If you last hit it, it's all RNG. Everybody's just here to have fun. We are not here to have fun. We're here to teabag these femboy F words until they submit to how much better we are as men. Okay? That's what we are here to do. Okay? That is what Node Wars are. Okay? That's the way that it is. But men want to assert dominance over other men. That is what Node Wars is about. And making it complex, like the old Node Wars system was, helps them do that, right? It also helps people be, well, if they're not as mechanically gifted, they can place the flag, or they can be a cannoneer, or they can play defense, or they can drive the Ellie, or whatever. Okay? That's just the way that it is. Okay? There was a place for everybody, and you as a team were supposed to outplay the enemy team. That is gone now. None of that is there. Okay, as PvPers, we want to be able to teabag our enemies. We want to be able to shit on them. The best part of a really good 1v1, of like an ego 1v1 where like Cho is fighting Digi, the best part wasn't even the fight. The best part was the Discord chat after. You'd go into toxic cesspool like you just... You just sit there eating, bro. It's crazy. People love it. People love it. It's being able to compete with the against other people. That's what we're here for. And when you take the competitiveness out of Node Wars, you essentially strip it of what men find it interesting for, right? In a game that is inherently not very competitive, but has competitive combat, this is the one game mode where they can really express like being competitive as a player. They can show everyone that they're really good at killing other players. Okay? That was what Node Wars was about. Nowadays, if you get like 100 kills in a constructed nowhere or in the new Node War system, who even cares? Anyone can do it. It's just an RBF. No one gives a shit. It's dog shit. It's worthless, right? But back in the day, you dropped 100 kills in a team fight, like, god damn, that guy's a alpha. You know what I mean? It was completely different. Completely different. PvP requires trash talk. It requires a certain amount of toxicity. But like, yeah, no, I'm not saying that people need to be calling each other the N-word, okay? Necessarily. But like, if they don't call each other the N-word, do we really know if they're serious about the PvP, right? Like, that's just how it is. Okay? Men get really competitive around other men. It's a dominance thing. It's always been that way. It's always been that way. You can spectate from a distance. Yeah, you can. So like that's why again the learning gap between what PA is forcing new players to do and what like new players think Node Wars is. They start to get the hang of Node Wars. They're like, okay, I understand how to do this new format, right? Like this little stick RBF thing, and then they get to the old system where they graduate, and that's where everybody actually plays, and they're like, welcome to the Thunderdome, pussy. Like, that's how it is. That's why you don't see new guilds coming up. That's why the PvP scene is slowly dying away. It's slowly dying away. It's because new players can't really get into Node Wars like they used to. And it used to be that we used to strongly encourage new players, like, hey, I want to get involved in T1 Node Wars. How can I do that? Oh, you can join this T1 guild. No, there's none of that anymore. It's gone. It's like, it's entirely focused on gear progression and making sure you're PvEing correctly and getting gear and whatnot so you can continue to get more gear. The game is completely different than it used to be. And like in some ways that's fine. But if you're talking about ways to fix the PvP scene, number one, you need to uniformly create Node Wars. Not this hybrid shit where, oh, we're going to let the community figure out what they want to do. No, Pearl Abyss. Are you listening? No, you can't give players that power because then you end up with some like Loads who is like, yeah, I'm just going to over the entire PvP scene for the whole week. If you guys don't let us into the fight this week, like the setup, like team fights for the week, we're just gonna go ahead and set it on the new Node Wars system so that no one gets any fight. So you either do what we want, or we are literally just gonna make it so that no one gets any fights at all. Okay. You can't give people that kind of power, number one. Number two, players, it was already complex enough as it was. And ironically enough, you trying to come up with this new system that was simpler made it more complicated for new players because now they have to learn your system and then graduate and learn the old system that's actually real. Okay? So it all needs to be uniform. The hybrid shit, you can't give players a choice. Rip the old or the new system out of the game. All like T1 Node Wars need to go back to constructed the way that it was intended to be so that guilds can figure out how to start building bases and fighting with each other and interacting with other guilds and interacting with each other in ways that is positive. Okay? Right now, it's two virgins in the dark for the first time trying to feel each other out. Okay? It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Anyway, I feel strongly about it.
Player numbers so that guilds could more easily meet player caps and nodes.
Now, you're talking about a different issue. There would be, I agree with you. Right now, you're talking about the fact that the alliance system needs to be removed. I do not feel that the alliance system needs to be completely removed. It does need to be reduced down to the maximum guild size. The problem right now is that alliance size is 150. Okay, so the maximum alliance size that you can have is 150 people, guys. But the maximum guild size is 100. Okay? Is 100. Which means that in order for a guild to be competitive in Node Wars, they must, count you, must ally with another guild. Okay? First, they have to be big and strong themselves. They have to get 60, 70 people, at least, right? Then they have to find another guild of equal strength, and they have to get along and ally so that they can competitively pull numbers like everyone else. This is a dog shit system. I don't know who thought thought this the up, but it's some behind a desk going, oh, good idea. Okay, like this worked when they tried to change Node Wars the first time 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and that was a complete disaster then. And then they reverted the Node Wars change, and they said, F it, you can have your old system back. And then they didn't revert the alliances. So like, now their fear as a company is, well, now we've got these 150-man communities and we don't want people to feel left out. F you! They'll figure it out! Like, no one cares! If the maximum alliance size is over the maximum guild size, because right now maximum guild size is 100. If the maximum alliance size is also 100, this is healthy. Why? Because the guilds that typically need an alliance are newer guilds. Maybe they only have 30, 40 people together in a guild. and they can take another 30 or 40 people and be competitive, right? Like, that makes it work. But it does not encourage guilds to continually get strong on their own, because no matter what, they will always need another guild. They will always need another guild.
TNL dropped alliance size and everyone praised the devs for it. Wake the f up, PA.
Same shit. And so what you've effectively done is, on top of discouraging new guilds to come up and actually be a thing, right? Because the new guild is like, now it's like, okay, well, we have to recruit 150 people or we literally can't be competitive in Node Wars. Because that's the bar, by the way. You have to have 150 people in your alliance or you just can't be competitive at all. Okay? You just can't do it with 100. You have to have alliance or you're okay? So what they've done is they've effectively made it so that people feel like they need 150 people in their guild if they're going to be competitive. Instead of, if they just dropped alliances down to 100 people, right? Maximum guild size is 100. This encourages people to continue grinding to try to make their their guild bigger and stronger, right? And the maximum alliance size is also 100. That means smaller guilds are encouraged to partner with other small guilds in order to learn the game and improve as a guild and as an organization. Also, you end up with, when you have smaller guild size, you end up with more players or more guilds available in Node Wars, okay? And I know that's gonna sound crazy, but if there are 150 man alliances, okay? If there are only 1,000, okay, I'll break it down so it's really easy for people to understand. If there are only 1,000 available players on the PvP scene, and they are all divided into 150 man guilds, okay? How many guilds can realistically can that make up? Like 6 guilds, right? That's going to be like 6 guilds. Now, if there are 1,000 people on the PvP scene and the maximum size is 100 for alliances and guilds, well, then now you have 10 guilds, okay? And this is just a microcosm example, all right? But like, essentially what you do is you effectively increase the amount of guilds that are participating in Node War by about 30 or 40%, which increases the amount of fun that you're having at Node Wars by about 150%. Okay, and anyone that's done Node Wars knows that I'm correct about this, okay? If you have like a strong 2v2 or 3v3 team fight and you get those consistently each week, the game is a lot more fun than if you only get to have one team fight once a week and like that's it, and it's always the same guilds every time, same guild, same team, same node every week. That is so boring. Okay, so you end up with more guilds, you end up with more fun. But when you decrease alliance size, you need to do another thing that's very important, and I'm hoping that you're going to talk about it. The maximum man size for Node Wars currently is 100 man Node Wars. This is dog shit. Maybe you can have 1 or 2 nodes that are 100 man, but aside from that, most Node Wars, the best Node Wars I ever did, were 25 man Node Wars to 45 man Node Wars at most. Usually it was 40. I'll be honest with you. Almost every node in the game should be 25 man to 40 man cap every time. With the notable exception, maybe you have 1 or 2 100 man nodes, maybe you have 1 or 2 60 man nodes, whatever. But like, for the most part, most of them are 25 to 40 man. And the reason is, number one, your servers are dog shit, Perlibus. Dog. Okay? Literally dog shit. Okay? Having 100 man Node Wars is not feasible with even 2 guilds because your servers shit themselves. Okay? The servers will run better if you have smaller man caps on the Node Wars, and it will be more fun because it's a more personable experience for these players. Okay? Every player that has done Node Wars for a really long time will tell you the exact same thing. Their most fun Node Wars during the week are 25 to 40 man Node Wars. It's literally just that simple. Then on the weekend, they do Siege, and that's a 100 man Siege. Because then Siege is actually competitive, and the reason is, how many people can you bring to Siege? Right now, everyone brings, or everyone tries to bring 100 people to Siege. Why? There's 150 people in the Alliance. But if you only have 100 people in your guild, the amount of active players that you have in your guild really matters. Because bringing 87 people to Siege is a lot different than bringing 70. Okay? Massive difference. Okay? So you have more strength, like you have more like expression in guild strength as well for Siege if you do this. Completely agree. Alliances need to be brought down in size. But also, man cap for Node Wars also need to be brought down in size comparably. I think that you're just relating 2 issues that are, admittedly, yes, they are issues. I agree with you, but they are unrelated.
Work, but it was introduced at a time when PvP player base was much larger, so you had the numbers to allow it to not affect participation as
The top guilds have a monopoly. They control all the node war scene. Yeah, see, this is somebody that doesn't actually do node wars or understand really how node wars works. No, I mean, in a sense, yes, they know the most about it, and yes, they have the most strength, right? But the reality of the situation, at least for NA and EU, and even SEA, is that the strongest guilds, you're right, they do control the node war scene, as they should, because they're the ones that get to set up the fights, and they make sure, and they typically, at least on NA and EU, and I'm fairly certain on SEA as well, on the Asia server, they work in the weaker guilds. So if a new guild comes in and says, hey, this is about our strength, can we participate in this node war with you guys? They'll say, okay, yeah, absolutely, we can get you in. For sure, right? This isn't some, like, I understand that people like to think of this as some shaky bay monopoly, because that constantly is like, oh my god, they have these politics scripted fights, and oh, it's just the top end guilds controlling everything. That's some that's never actually done it a day in his life. Okay, he has no idea what the fuck's going on. The reality of the situation is, the reason that people do politics on the node war scene is so that the new guilds can participate. The veteran guilds, literally, instead of making it, because what you're framing it as is as, oh, well, guilds 1, 2, and 3 are all on the same team and they just shit on everybody else. And in Korea, that might be the case sometimes, right? But in the rest of the world, what guilds 1, 2, and 3 do is they say, okay, well, we'll put guilds 1, 4, and 5 on the same team with each other. And then we'll put guilds 2, 3, and 6 on the same team with each other. That way, guilds 5 and 6 in terms of strength, because let's say guild 1 is the strongest, guild 2 is the second strongest, and so on. Guilds 5 and 6 get to participate this way. They're partnered with a really strong ally. That means that they can actually have fun and participate in the node war in a meaningful way, right? Whereas if they just dropped and there were no politics done and there were no teams formed, 5 and 6 would never show up to node wars again, right? Yeah, except 2 and 3 are like 5,000% stronger than 4 and 5. Yes. So one of the problems he's talking about here is that the gap between 1, 2, and 3 are to 4, and even 1 and 2 to 3 are just catastrophically big. And that's the biggest problem. That's not the biggest problem. That is one of the big problems. And again, I spoke about that earlier, so I'm not going to rehash that. But that is a problem, sure. But they do their best to try to balance teams to the best of their ability, and you can't fault them for it, right?
much. In the current state of the game, this is not the case. We currently have a much...
It's not the strong guilds controlling it. It's the strong guilds that are the ones actively trying to communicate. Exactly. They're the ones... I've seen strong guilds reach out to these weak guilds. Hey, do you want to fight on Wednesday? We can get you in this fight.
Much smaller amount of guilds that are actually trying to participate in wars and not just placing for participation credit. Removing alliances would, in the best case, double the amount of guilds participating in wars. In addition, it would alleviate the guild power disparity, as all the strongest players would no longer be able to fit in 1 or 2 guilds, as is the current case. You cannot just do this on its own though, as it would reintroduce the problem of hitting player caps being difficult. So alongside this, I recommend reducing player caps to allow guilds to hit them without the need for an alliance. Something like 70
Perfect. No!
players in Siege, for example, hit them without the need for an alliance. Something like 70 players in Siege, for example.
I don't think Siege should be released. I think that Siege should be difficult to pull players for. It should be, because part of the strength of your guild in a node war guild is how many people can you pull. And Siege, you should be able to do that once a week at Siege. You all call your guild to Siege. How many people can you pull? I think that's an important part of guild strength. It is. It's almost as important as how strong your players actually are.
Example seems reasonable to me. I also wanted to talk about some of the PvP game modes which were added in recent years. These consist both of the War of the Roses and the Hardcore server. While I think both of these game modes are, at least in concept, excellent ideas, I feel like how they were executed was a bit lackluster. When War of the Roses was first revealed, I pictured it working similar to Cyrodiil out of Elder.
Then again, we have another problem when it comes to construction at the moment, because it only lasts 1 hour. We're never able to make setup fights anymore, because you can't 2v2 or 3v3 in 1 hour time limit. I've said this until I'm been blue in the face. The spawn timer is how short spawn timer is for the most of these node war times on EU. Almost every setup fight, 2v2, 3v3 ends with a wheel decide win or spin because we cannot get a good fight in time. Exactly. And so, again, morons that don't understand node wars will tell you, oh, node wars being an hour, 2 hours is fatiguing. That's how you know. That's like the dog whistle for some that never node wars and doesn't understand. Okay, like any that is like, oh yeah, no, it needs to be an hour because 2 hours is too long, it's fatiguing, doesn't understand how node wars actually operates. Most of the time, if you have all Perlibus did is that most of the time in a 2 hour node war, okay, the 2 hour node wars were the really good node wars that go to the full time, the really good team fights. Most of the team fights were dead. The fight can be over in 20 to 40 minutes. Fight's over in 20 to 40 minutes. And those are not the fights that you remember. Doesn't matter, right? Those fights are like dog shit. They're like, okay, well, whatever. One side got zerged or maybe somebody put their base in the wrong spot or whatever. Not a good fight.
I miss fighting by your side,
right?
Sag.
Like, not a good fight, all right? I miss you too, Siggy. Not a good fight. But the good fights lasted over an hour. So all Perlibus did when they shortened node wars from 2 hours to 1 hour is they effectively just said, and that's why this is the meme in the PvP community. No PvP! Okay? Like, if you are actually having a good fight, it's going to go over an hour, and you're going to be having a good time. It's not fatigue. It's fun. Whenever it goes beyond an hour, it's fun. Whenever it's under an hour, it sucks. The node war sucked. But what they effectively did is they took all of the fun out of the actual fun fights. And so now all you get is dog shit fights that end too early. It's gone now. It's gone now. You can't do this anymore. You can't go to 2 hours anymore and have some certified banger where you're macroing, you finally get there, whatever. You make a single mistake, the enemy gets rebuilt, it's over. You're out of time. It's over. You're out of time.
Scrolls Online or World v World in Guild Wars 2. If you don't know what either of those are, imagine a War of the Roses like map, but it is running 24/7, where each
I see no fun smacking each other for 2 to 4 hours. You're not a PvPer. Why are you trying to insert yourself into this argument? You clearly do not PvP. Like, you're a PvEer commenting on PvP matters. Why are you trying to insert yourself here? Like, I don't understand. Like, why? What? I don't see the fun in smacking each other for 2 to 4 hours. Really, go watch one of my old Siege VODs from like 2 or 3 years ago. Stan. I do node war at times. No, you don't. Okay? I'm going to be clear. Maybe you do in either A, shitty node war guilds, or B, you give it a half-assed effort. Go watch some of my Siege VODs from years ago. Go on. Go watch some of my old clips and stuff and tell me you're not having a phenomenal time. Because some of the best sieges, some of the best node wars I ever had went to completion. Okay? And anyone that's ever actually done good PvP content knows that's how it works. Holy dude. I just don't understand why you would only hit somebody from 2 to 4 hours. First of all, it's 2 hours for node war at maximum, to be clear. And most of the time it's done before 2 hours. The vast majority of time it's done before 2 hours. But you at least get to finish the fight and have a good time. Now I'm going to show up and I'm going to hit somebody for 20 minutes and then I'm going to walk away. That's it. Because the first 10 minutes of the fight, you don't even have a flag, so it's like whatever. I love stalemate PvP, the kind of PvP I miss. Well, right now you have tons of stalemate PvP. They basically never get to finish any fight. You get to hit each other for 20 minutes and then you're done.
Faction earns points by holding and capturing objectives. And the faction with the most points...
The node war scene is cooked, complete monopoly. Are you the guy that was saying... Are you the guy? Yeah, you're the guy that's saying the top guilds have a monopoly, like they control all the node war scene. What server are you on, Stan? I'm curious. Stan, what server are you on? Are you NA, EU, SEA? What are you? You're NA. Okay, so you have no idea what you're Shaky Bay then. You don't actually have any idea what's going on. You have no concept. You don't know who Johnny Five is or Roots or Loads or Corrupt. He's rage baiting. Yeah, no, this guy's trolling. He's trolling. That's a troll. They have a complete monopoly. That is some PvEer who's done Node Wars like one time that like has fabricated this idea of what they think is going on without actually understanding the issue, right? Trying to insert themselves in an argument that is, again, with people that are veterans of the game mode, that have done it for years. You don't know what's going on. You have no concept. If you, Sweetie Pumpkin, if you think that the NA guilds have a monopoly and they're keeping you out of Node Wars, you have a problem. Like, you need counseling. Like, because you're either so delusional that you can't see the truth, or you've just like a Redditor, you've chosen to just do like 5 seconds of research and then made up your own mind on it. And either way, they're counseling.
By the end of a season would win the war. This is how I feel War of the Roses should have been implemented. Not this short fight that, in all honesty, has all...
Digital and others control everything, including Tax Wagon. Tax Wagon. You mean tax cart? Tax Wagon.
Almost no strategy in it other than having the two sides blindly run at each other. Sure, in an ideal situation is that player skill determines which side successfully pushes. But where's the strategy and nuance in how you decide what to attack and how to attack? Everyone just tries to bum rush to the enemy's home node and spawn camp them into oblivion. In these other games, there's so many different types of objectives beyond trying to push your territory forward that can help your faction win the fight. I really do think PA needs to take a look at what other games have done with this form of large-scale PvP and take some pointers on what they did to make War of the Roses turn out better.
I'll be honest with you, I don't really think that there's a PvE VP game mode alive that really was successful. You know, you look across the road at like Destiny's Gambit, kind of a disaster, right? You look at even Throne and Liberty. Honestly, Throne and Liberty was the only success story where you had like the world bosses or whatever, and even they removed that even too, right? So like it's kind of dumb.
As for the hardcore server, in all honesty, I feel like how it was implemented was really good. It had stuff for everyone. PvE players could grind for good silver. PvP players could actively experience the open world PvP sandbox once again. There are only two things I would really want to see changed for this mode, and first is that I really think we should just allow all classes to be available.
I'll start up the Iron Man soon again here, this coming week probably.
Why are we making what was advertised as a
Bloody Mary, that's the one.
Bit of game mode with a leaderboard, mind you, that specifically puts players at a disadvantage if they happen to not know how to play any of the classes available in the current season.
Oh my god, is he talking about hardcore servers? Wait, what?
Box once again. There are only two things I would really want to see changed for this mode, and first is that I really think we should be... As for the hardcore server,
yeah, he's talking about hardcore
the open
servers.
world
What?
PvP sandbox once again. There are only two things I would really want to see changed for this mode, and first is that I really think we should just allow all classes to be available. Why are we making what was advertised as a competitive game mode with a leaderboard, mind you, that specifically puts players at a disadvantage if they happen to not know how to play any of the classes available in the current season? That was just a bad idea, and if hardcore comes back, I hope to see that changed. The second,
I think that really there's only a few things that need to change with hardcore server to make it a viable game mode. 1, remove it. 2, open up Shadow Arena. 3, profit. Thoughts? I mean, like that's it. That's all it is. Okay? I think like straight up though, like realistically speaking, they allow all classes to be played on the hardcore server. And then the daily on the hardcore server can be worth a shitload of gold, or silver, but it needs to allow players to fight each other. You need to encourage player interaction.
Second thing I would want changed is much smaller, and it's just remove the buffs you get from killing mobs. No matter how much you nerf them, it just ruins the supposed competitive nature of the content you created. If you have to keep the buffs, make them specifically give you monster AP and monster damage reduction instead of player damage. I think getting a nice bonus where you can kill mobs a little faster once in a while is nice, but making them you completely unbeatable in PvP just makes it anti-fun. They just shouldn't be a thing. And one last thing I would love to see from P8 in terms of PvP is to just bring back the open world PvP sandbox. You don't have to do this by reverting to guild deck changes. As much as I would love for that to happen, I honestly think doing that is a bad idea. But why can't we have some way for guilds to opt in to open world PvP? For example, once upon a time, in a previous ball, PA talked about something called guild tags. Obviously,
what's up with the sponsor? We'll do the sponsor here in a soon, TM.
They have scrapped this idea because of how long ago this was. But this idea allowed you to tag or specialize your guild in a specific form of content like PvP, PvE, or life skilling. Based on your specialization, your guild would gain access to unique...
Yeah, they promised us guild tags forever ago. That's kind of what he's hinting at here, guys. Where you could just like classify your guild as like PvP, PvE, or PvX or whatever. And like what he's implying is that PvP guilds should be automatically able to deck both guilds. Like you should be able to deck automatically. And I'll be honest with you, we don't even need to go that far. We really just need to fix node wars. Node wars get fixed. A bunch of node war guilds end up like being on the PvP scene. The open world scene will fix itself. Like the problem will fix itself.
Passes.
And there's no use in fixing open world PvP until node wars are fixed, because no one's going to use it anyway until node wars are fixed.
The members that would help them in those forms of content. What if PvP tag? What if the PvP tag, for example, on top of some buffs related to PvP, also made it so that your guild could be declared on by other guilds freely? This makes the PvP guilds able to enjoy the PvP they want to participate in. And this isn't the only option, but all I'm saying is please add some way to opt into war or something to allow us to have the PvP sandbox once again. That just about covers everything in PvP, and it brings me to my last topic, which is the current state of pay to win in the game. Let's face it, at the end of the day, and companies exist to make money. Unfortunately, recently PA has started to make this fact more and more apparent with how pay to win has been increasing in prevalence recently. While I hate to see pay to win in the game increasing, and I will always be of the opinion that pay to win should just never exist.
Could we at least turn him to 2x speed?
We're going to bring him 1.75. How about that? All right, let's see it.
Something that PA is never going to give up. So all I can ask for is that they implement it in a more healthy way for the game. Currently, pay to win has shifted away from outfits and moved to gamble boxes. These boxes allow you to straight up swipe for cronstones, which is a problem.
I'm reading off of a script. Well, that's part of the problem. And also, you can make the video a lot more interesting if you increase the expression of your VTube avatar. It needs to be rigged better. It's a phenomenal model. It needs to be rigged better so that like it shows your facial expressions more.
This is because the current endgame grind is
like the best female VTubers in our category that have the most viewers have like the most expressive avatars.
For just crons. That's it. That's all you're grinding for at this point. In the past, crons were nice, but the true bottleneck
costs a little bit of money to rig that. Yeah, well, that's welcome to the industry.
Was usually the items themselves. You needed to buy accessories and memory fragments and materials to use to enhance items. So while you could swipe for outfits to get crons, you still needed to sell some of those outfits so you had the silver to buy the items, fragments, and materials you needed. This allowed the people who don't pay to win to benefit from those who do, by getting some cheaper crons. The way this works...
Spoken as somebody that doesn't probably understand just how egregious the Gamba boxes are. What he's saying, guys, is that the reason Gamba boxes are a problem is because they're giving you enhancement materials. And I'll be honest with you, as somebody that's opened a lot of Gamba boxes, I don't know what he's talking about. I have no idea what he's talking about. It does not really give you that many enhancing materials, really. I mean, honestly, when you think about it, but like realistically speaking, I mean, he'd be right. But like also, even if you took the enhancing materials out of the game, Even if you took the enhancing materials out of the box is still more valuable just in cron stones than buying the outfits.
Made it feel just a little bit more reasonable as a pay-to-win system. But with these gamble boxes, you have completely removed the need to do any of that. Players are now directly allowed to buy progression without any way for those who actually grind to benefit from it.
Yep.
I feel like they need to stop with the gamble boxes or severely limit how many of them you can get. You are just letting players print items used to progress instead of letting them swipe for in-game currency.
Well, they're desperately trying to keep up with their revenue stream, right? Their revenue has been declining dramatically, and so they're trying to over monetize what few players that they have like the fewer active players that they have remaining. They're trying to overly monetize them so that the revenue looks like to investors that it's the same as before.
And actually participate in the economy. Another thing going on with this whole situation is that the community itself is actively promoting this pay-to-win, which does kind of irritate me a little bit. There are numerous content creators that actively swipe large amounts of money on stream and in videos to progress and catch up.
True! These people are the problem. Couldn't agree more. I mean, chat, he's right. I mean, he is right. True. So true. Yep, these sell out shills of content creators. Ridiculous.
I will not name and shame anyone, but you know who you are, and I implore you to stop encouraging this. Supporting this kind of shift to pay to win by playing into it actively encourages other players who also pay to win, and also reinforces TA's idea that it's okay.
If it makes you feel any better, buddy, I have not spent a dime on this game since August. Nothing in September, nothing in October, and I'm actively advocating for no Pearl November, and I probably won't even spend anything in December, January, or February. I don't really... No Pearl November, that's right, baby. Because although, see, Blue Squadron giveth and Blue Squadron taketh. Okay? Blue Squadron giveth and Blue Squadron taketh. He's right. When I spend a shitload of money on the game, it definitely encourages other people to spend more money on the game. True. But what happens when Blue says, guys, I'm no longer spending a dime on this game until they fix shit? Blue Squadron giveth and Blue Squadron taketh. See, in my mind, it's me trying to reward them for doing good things, like giving the old Node War system back or whatever. And then punishing them when they do bad things. So in a crazy way, I can cost Pearl Abyss millions of dollars by just not spending any money, right? But I also do want the game that I love to be successful. So there are times when I do feel like spending money is not necessarily a bad thing, both for me and my content, and for the community, right? Because people should not necessarily feel bad that they spend money on BDO, right? However, when they push the game in a really bad direction, like they have with Edania here, with the weekly gated stuff, as we've continually seen over the last 3 months or so here now, I think it's important to be able to punish the developers, because maybe what you don't understand is that the only thing they're going to listen to is the wallet. So when things are good and they're making money, thumbs up. And the only time they ever change things is when we stop spending money on the game and we give them the thumbs down, right? So I send a pretty clear message, I feel like. And you're right. It did encourage people to spend money on the game. True. Right? But, again, those content creators giveth and those content creators taketh. You know, maybe he's not just talking about me, but the reason I'm focusing on me is he's clearly I'm a part of the problem here. Right? But it is my job. So part of it was like, okay, I want to be able to do all the content. And another part of it is like, okay, well, you reward them for when things are going well and things are good. And then when things are not good and they're not listening to the community, for example, like group grind zone changes, Agris, weekly gated content, etc., you punish. And you can punish a lot harder than you can give in this case. Part of the reason I was removed from the partner program is because I punished them too hard. They just lost a tremendous amount of money on me just absolutely shitting on them for the Node War system change like a year and a half ago now. Let's not forget who went to bat for the community on that one. And again, who took the consequences for that too. My spending protest lasts until the next 1+1 box. That's crazy work. I didn't even buy the last 1+1 box, to be clear. I told you guys, I haven't spent a dime. And I have zero intentions on spending a dime until, and again, I have things that I could buy. I could go for my next 2 deck weapons. That's a lot of money. I could drop 5 or 6 grand on it. Nope. My pearls have sat at 129 for the last like 3, it'll go on 4 months here. Okay. You giveth, you taketh, right? And that's how you should see it when I do stuff like that. Not to say you're not wrong, though. Me spending money did encourage other people to spend money. Do I feel bad about that? No. Does me not spending money also encourage, because see, you can also, it's a double-edged sword, right? I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't here. If I spend money, I get criticism from people like you and the rest of the community for supporting Pearl Abyss and, oh my god, it's a shit game, whatever. And then if I don't spend money, people accuse me of killing the game because no one wants to spend money because Blue's advocating for no Pearl November, right? Like, oh my god, he's killing the game, he's doing so much damage to the game, blah, 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 right? I can't win. All I can do is just do what my heart tells me to do. That's it. That's it. Just do what I think is right.
And tells them that this is something that they can do. This will just make pay to win more and more ridiculous and may eventually kill the game if it gets extreme enough. Please.
It's not, you got to understand what's making pay to win more and more ridiculous. I'm going to use myself because like I'm obviously the egregious factor here that he's like referring to, and he doesn't want to call me out because he doesn't want to get like the hate, and I get that, to be clear. But I'm going to call myself out. He's very specifically, for sure, talking about me here. The Gamba boxes were a far greater problem. They were already a super bad problem before I spent the money. So I am not the cause, and neither are the other content creators, are not the cause of this widespread increase in Gamba boxes. Instead, you need to look deeper. This problem has been basically making itself more and more known in the community over the last 2 to 3 years now. Why is that increasing? Well, the active player base is declining, right? But Pearl Abyss wants to show investors that they are still making money. So as the player base declines, they monetize the game more and more so that they can milk as much money as they can out of the few active players that are still remaining. So regardless of whether or not I or other people end up spending money, because he could be talking about other people too, this was already a thing. And whether I spend the money or not, the Gamba boxes were already in the game. We're already going to get them. It's not like I did to dictate. I don't have that. I don't have that kind of influence, and neither does anyone else, for that matter. Neither do all of the content creators put together. If we were all pushing Gamma boxes, it still would not have that much influence to tell PA's marketing team to do one thing or another. You just can't force people to spend money on a game. You can, however, again, strongly advocate for people not to spend money on the game, and that is much easier for people to do. It is much easier for a content creator to tell people to stop spending money on the game and to actively practice that and show that than it is to spend money and then, so how many people do you think spent money on the game as a result of me spending money, right? Few hundred, thousand, right? I'd say probably over 50,000 people have seen the multiple videos that I put out, right? Maybe you could say thousands. Now, how many people do you think listen to No Pearl November? Probably tens of thousands. Because it's much easier to not spend money than it is to just spend money. In fact, a lot of players are already poor. And they're like, well, I wasn't going to spend money anyway. But yeah, baby, No Pearl November. Everybody's with me now. Woo! There's probably a lot of players out there. They're like, yeah, bro, saving right now. Okay, it's much easier to get people to not spend money on the game, for sure. Right? I'm doing No Pearl November for sure. Yeah, tons of people are going to do it. I'm sure. Right? And I thought really hard before I decided I was going to advocate for a movement like this, because I'll be honest with you, it's really scary as a content creator to say, hey, we should take this company that we're their only income and we should tank the stock price and the income of our company that makes our game. that's probably not a super good idea, right? But I am low-key gambling. In true BDO player fashion, I am gambling, right? I am wagering that the community is able to leverage us not spending money against us also trying to get group grind zones. And you can say, oh, this coming from the guy that spent thousands of dollars. Yep. But again, Blue Squadron giveth, Blue Squadron taketh. I can have influence over people spending money, sure. But I can also have influence over taking money from them. And would you say that I'll be honest with you, I've made Pearl Abyss more money than any other player on this planet in the last 2.5 years. And the reason is my YouTube videos introduce people to the game. They get people to play the game more. That's just the truth. And when people are playing the game, they spend more money. So if you add up all that money, it's a amount of money, right? So I make them a stupid amount of money. Absolutely stupid. But again, giveth, taketh. When I was a Pearl Abyss partner, I started to understand this super innately because I had talks with the CM team when I was in California about what they expected about their BDO from their BDO partners and what they were truly looking for on like a fundamental level from their content creators. And like I started thinking about it, and they're like, "Yeah, you make us a lot of money." And I was like, "You know, I think I do make them a lot of money." And then do you guys remember that there was like the creator codes thing? They're like the content creator, you could put in a code at checkout, and a content creator would get like a percentage of the sale. Very small percentage. Very, very small percentage. Less than like Pen Reblath on a 100 stack or a 60 stack. Okay, a very small percentage of the sale. Yeah, made thousands of dollars off of that. And I wasn't even a fifth of the content creator that I am today. I wasn't even a fifth of the size. Like, that's the difference. That's the difference. So like the content creators do make them a tremendous amount of money, but the content creators can also lose them a stupid amount of money. And the reason that I ultimately lost partner is because I was losing them money. It's net negative. Net negative. And now I'm kind of Django Unchained. Now they hate me. The CMs do like I do believe that like corruption in them on a personal level, they probably do like me. But Pearl Abyss as a company, they hate my ass. And I know it because when I met Jae-hee Kim, it was pretty obvious to me the last time that I met him. Like they're not a fan of what I have to say about them or their game or whatever anymore. And I don't care. I'm over it. I don't give a shit anymore. Because do something good and I will reward you with like good feedback. If you do something bad, I'm going to give you bad feedback. And I want to be clear. I am not the end all be all in BDO, okay? Do I have an influence over things? Sure. But just like Choice does, okay? He does, right? Blue Sky does, and Moshi and Ray Rar and all the other content, they have saves, right? But ultimately, the people that have the most say are the community. And what Pearl Abyss doesn't like is that I voice what people are fundamentally upset about. What other BDO partners refuse to voice, because even though it is true and they know it to be true, they won't voice it because it would hurt the company and it would hurt their chances of continuing to be a BDO partner. I decided that I was just going to start voicing because of regardless. And as it turns out, people really like that because they like people that are honest with them. You know, as honest as you can be with how things are going down and what the community wants and what we want out of Pearl Abyss and whatnot. That messaging works. And like the way that I have found that it's most effective to reward them is with the pocketbooks. So no Pearl November, in my opinion, it's right before the Calpheon Ball. It's right before the Calpheon Ball. So if we're gonna get change, it's in November. If we can really make an impact on their income, especially coming into the holiday season here in November, you bet your ass they're gonna be talking at the Calpheon Ball. Suddenly there's gonna be some, oh, we're gonna talk about group grind zones, we're gonna talk about this, we're gonna talk about that. Right? And no, if we do get there, no, it is not a result of me and only me. It is a result of Moshi making a video about group grind zones. It's a result of Blue Sky making a video talking about his thoughts on the game. It's a result of Choice making a podcast talking about his thoughts on the game. It's about you guys voicing yourselves in comment sections, in Twitch chats, in forum posts, in Discord, support tickets, all of that. It is a combination of the entire community collectively coming together and saying, "F you, we want changes. We love this game. Please give us the changes that we want. That's what we want to see. Okay. And I think that personally, right now, I think that right now the community has never been more united on an issue in my history in the game. I have never seen everyone unanimously come out on the same side of things. Remember Node Wars? Node Wars, it was a war zone. PvEers were like, you've been hunting us. Your PvP, your decks, everything. Like, they didn't give a shit. And then the PvPers were like, this is a disaster. Change it. Oh my God, we need help. Right? Like, it was pandemonium. And the scene was all over the place. This is almost unanimous. And stream lagging hard, that's only for you, brother. This is almost unanimous. I have not seen a content creator, a community, or like comments, forum posts, discords, worldwide, unanimous. People do not want weekly gated content in their game, and people want group content. Those are the two really big things. No more weekly gated shit. In fact, take this shit out of the game now. And two, or B, I think I said one. So two, group content. We would like some group grind zones. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. So like, I think that we have a unique opportunity here, so I'm trying to spearhead it. And I know it can be hypocritical to say no Pearl November when I spent a bunch of money in June and July. True. But again, that helped them for those months, right? For like 2 months, W's. And then they've been taking L's, right? L after L after L. So where do you think the bottom line actually is at the end of the day? Put a needle on the graph and tell me where their bottom line is.
Consider what you were supporting if you play into the shit that is happening. In summary, pay to win is increasing, and it is increasing in a way that is unhealthy for the game. This is something we as today's consumers need to make known.
That's what I tried to point out to people when I did it for the first time. I was like, this is...
And hope that they change it. All of this pay to win happening brings up the topic of where is all this extra money going. And while I do want to keep the information of this video strictly BDO related, we do know that PA has 3 other games they are working on in addition to BDO. That means BDO is single-handedly having to help fund production of 4 different projects. It doesn't take a genius to realize that this is not sustainable. And I hope that when these products are completed, maybe BDO will ease up on the pay to win, but one can only hope though. And that just about covers everything I wanted to touch on in this video, guys. In conclusion,
fair criticisms.
BDO is a game I truly love and enjoy. I know a lot of this video was extremely critical of things currently going on in the game and focused mainly on the negatives. So you may think, wow, he hates this game right now, but I promise you that can be further from the truth.
Just contacted me to tell you that as a reminder, we spent a whole 5 minutes making group content, Deciolans 2, and are going back to making solo content for the next 2 years.
It would be less funny if that wasn't actually exactly what was said. Literally said that in a dev note.
I really didn't like it and didn't care about it and didn't want to play it. I wouldn't even bother making this video or trying to suggest how I feel they can improve it.
No, it's good.
For the moment, I still find the game fun and I have no plans to stop playing it. And I hope that this video helped further the conversation started by Choices Podcast and that it helped some people understand what is going on with the game right now. BDO is a game I truly want to see succeed, and I hope they try to make changes for the better. As I said at the start, everything in this video is just how I see things, and you shouldn't let me speak for you. So I encourage you to make what you want for the game known. Post a comment, post on Reddit, post on the forums, post in the Discord, and if you agree with any of my opinions, let them
Maybe not Reddit. Reddit's useless.
know. If we as a community make our wants known, eventually they will hear it, and that's all we can really do.
Oh no, they've heard it. It's just not loud enough. No. And it's like, oh, that's all we can do. No, sweetie. You don't understand how this works. I've drawn this diagram before. Okay, players give feedback to the community management team, which then gives feedback to our dev team in Korea. All right. The only time we can actually get change is because see, you need to understand, these people are worthless. Completely worthless. The community management team is here to try to coddle you and keep you quiet and like, oh, we understand. We hear you. Oh, we heard your feedback. Yeah. Oh my God, we're relaying. But I assure you that they are worthless. And I'm sorry to say it because they're great people. But when they give feedback to the developers, the devs are like, yeah, whatever. You need to be yelling so loudly, whether it be with your wallet or in posts all over the place, like carpet, like literally the whole carpet bomb, the whole goddamn forum, whatever. Okay, it needs to be so egregious that you go over the top of the CM team and the devs can hear you crying from Africa. Okay, you need to get around these people, because if you don't, it's worthless. It's worthless. They cannot, like, if you just give your feedback to the community management team, it does reach the devs. The community management team does its job, but what the devs here is, yeah, they're concerned about this issue, but it's really not that big of a deal. That's where we're at, okay? Because they don't think it's a big deal until they hear us screaming about it. That's how it works. They have to hear you, specifically you, not CM Corruption, not CM Etsu, not Enclave. They need to hear you. And the best way to hear you, as I've said many times, is to make this guy, Blue Sky, making this video is a perfect example. Do I agree with everything that he said in the video? Absolutely not. But I let him, and to be clear, he's criticizing me in the back half of this video, for sure. And I think that's a fair argument to be like, Blue, he didn't say Blue, but like, these content creators are making it worse by buying into this and then making videos about it. It's a fair argument. It's not necessarily the way I choose to see it, but he's not wrong in that it does encourage people to spend money. And I can totally understand his argument. And I think that that's a fair thing to criticize me for. Very reasonable. Okay. And I will absolutely platform your ideas. You have a guide. If you want to be heard, okay, you want to get more traction on something, you can just record a video, post it in my Discord, and I will react to it. Okay. Please make it under like 15 minutes if possible. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it on 2x speed. But like, if you can make a 15 to 20 minute video about like your thoughts on the game or what you think needs to be improved and whatnot, I will help platform your ideas, even if I don't necessarily agree with them, right? Because I didn't agree with everything necessarily he said. But I agreed with a lot of his points, and I don't disagree on some things, and maybe he's right about some of this stuff. And it's good to voice these concerns. It's an excellent thing that he made this video. You should do more stuff like this, but you should make it a little bit more entertaining. Like, look at Moshi's video on group content. She's like moving around and shit, bro. Like it's like the rigging. I think it's the rigging. It's a good video. It's a good video, and like more videos like this help get eyes on subject. That's the video right there. I encourage you to go like the video, comment on the video.